manage the process and not let it get so far in the weeds that it's running till midnight. You know, there's an event. Is there an event after?
There's a Zumba class in between, so yes, there's a meeting at 1 o'clock.
So you can stay
our
and
team
work
is
out,
probably
or
planning
you
for the
can
Zumba
have
class.
There's a 1 o'clock meeting in the afternoon and a 6 o'clock, and in
Just
between that,
straight
there's a
through from one
Zumba
to
class.
the next.
Come for the
Clear the
transport,
room
stay
for
for
it.
the Zoom.
So we're going to be mindful, respectful of everybody's time. We're going to, facilitate the discussion in an orderly way. Try to tease out some common themes we're seeing, but also just lay out the pathway forward so people understand what the next step is. And after we have two on the 26th, one at 1 o'clock and the other at 6. So we're casting the net wide, trying to capture as many folks as possible. And then we're going to have focus group meetings that follow, and then we're having another town hall meeting and collecting more information, sharing what that's more of a sharing where we're at, giving them a download on the information that's been gathered, the analysis that's been performed thus far, and heading into final recommendations. And then we have a third town hall meeting to present, really a synopsis of the salient projections and recommendations. And then once again, obtain feedback. And I've had the goal on many of these exercises to go into that last town hall meeting. The landing gear's out. We're bringing this project to a close. I want people in that room to be shaking their heads saying, yes, they heard. Yes, they listened. Yeah, that's a recommendation that we've been waiting for. We want to address the specific issues. We're not coming in saying, what works in Naperville, Illinois works here in Shorewood or in Omaha, Nebraska. I mean, they're going to be very specific. And our whole team will be present to answer questions. And we want to make sure that we hand off the recommendations to the committee, BART, to the village, and it's a very clear order of magnitude. What needs to be done, when, what recommendations maybe coincide, and need to be done together. But there's clarity of mission at the end. It's not just here's a report, see you guys.
And then what's the timeline for implementation? Obviously, it'll depend a little bit on but has that been?
Well, once the schedule is
Yeah,
September.
the schedule
late
show,
fall.
I hope you have, I hope I have the right version. So the current expectation is the presentation to the village board for the final pack will be November 4th. So that would lead towards implementation within 2020 cycle. So I know that my work plan has a whole chunk, broken off for, depending on what comes in, what goes first, or what staff is doing it, whether it's planning or the clerks or public works or the police or whoever, but all I can say right now is 2020 is definitely in.
Yes, it's a priority
Right.
for 2020.
But to Phil's earlier point, if there's something that's really obvious now that perhaps maybe on November 4th, they can, update the policy that quickly, I don't know, but if there is something that there's large consensus on, or there's an intersection that really needs immediate attention, or, the planters can be easily removed at the metro market, hey, we can do it sooner if we're on board with it, right, so. But yeah, and just to clarify, so this town hall is introductory, kind of a wide net of everything. The next the next one's focused, I believe, on transportation specifically, so if there's specific transportation needs, they'll have its own, place to do that, and the next one's on parking.
When we say transportation, do we mean cars or do we mean cars, bikes?
Everything.
Okay.
Yes, anything
Bus.
moving in the right of way.
Yep. Scooters perhaps, right?
Yeah.
Rollerblades,
Yeah.
that's good.
Kind of how we connect, we overlap. We talk about curb management when we're looking at on-street parking. How would the village manage the curb space that they control? Many communities are dealing with that right now, and it hasn't been something on the top of priority lists. But now with Uber and Lyft and scooter companies dropping scooters in communities all over, especially around university towns. We're writing policies for the city of Columbia, Missouri right now because they've had 3 scooter companies descend upon them and drop scooters in.
I was just in Scottsdale, Arizona for the last week. It is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's crazy how things are changing.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people on scooters everywhere. Like,
And Wisconsin's supposed to be changing this next week to allow them, so Milwaukee fully anticipates to have them available for Summerfest, which is, what, like a week away, so.
Yeah.
And if they're in Milwaukee, it's very likely they're gonna bleed up here, right? So-
Sure.
We
Yeah,
did
so
the
the-
last time they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, Capitol Drive,
I will.
Oakley.
You know,
Yeah.
Steve, you know, will be working alongside, you know, our group, and we will be looking at policies, even, you know, Bart, if you're concerned about, you know, how will the community, you know, embrace these micromobility options that may be coming into the community, you know, we can talk about best practices, you know, and some of the, just to dip our toe into it, some communities are saying, you know, at 9 p.m., all these scooters have to automatically shut off because we don't want anybody intoxicated, we don't want anybody driving at night, people don't know if they should go on the sidewalk or the street. You know, there are a lot of unknowns, and so what happens then? People just ditch the scooters wherever they are at 9, and all of a sudden you have scooters everywhere. And so there are policies that need to be thought through to engage with these companies,
Yeah.
because then you can come to the table with these companies, you know, informed and say, you know, here are the parameters. If you
And
come in,
Milwaukee shared their policy with me earlier today. I had not had a chance to look at it because I was doing other things, but Milwaukee is trying to get ahead of it because they know it's gonna happen very, very shortly. So whether or not mirroring or, you know, joining their efforts or modifying it to be more specific to our needs too. But once again, that's something that maybe we can't wait until 2020, right? If they show up here and all of a sudden it's a problem that, you know, they're up and down our sidewalks, or how do they police enforce it if there's nothing on the books, right? So it's all continuous process, right?
yeah, and more companies are getting into that market. Google has their scooter out now.
Yeah, I think
Lime.
Milwaukee said like Austin has 20, or maybe Atlanta, someone's got 26 companies or something that are competing
Yeah,
for the
Scottsdale
market.
was 4 that I saw.
Yeah, different brands out there, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so-
isn't it, Chicago's allowing 2 on the south and west sides?
Yeah, on the west side.
Was it this week?
Mhm.
Yeah, this week they started.
But not
Wow.
downtown, correct? Chicago?
Now the loop.
No,
Yep.
not in the loop.
You see some folks trying to take scooters in there, but they have it, you know, geotagged,
Yep.
geo-fenced, so the scooters will shut off.
And my understanding is Wisconsin's legislation will allow communities to ban them, so if by chance that's what Shore wants to do, I'm not saying that's,
Mhm.
you know, whatever. It is possible that the scooter companies could shut them off at, say, Edgewood, and then they're all just on Edgewood, and you'll have to walk the rest of the way, but.
And there's people just flying away.
Right, right. I don't know how that works, if it slows down hopefully, and not just a hard
Like a
stop,
grocery-
but.
grocery
Right
Yeah.
in Edgewood. It's right into the street. LA ambulance uncle.
Right, and
Well, we met, the bubbler bike people came in a month or 2 ago, and they're the whole electric bike, the
Mhm.
whole change in that
Yeah.
sector of transportation.
Absolutely. General Motors is an electric bike. They're going to be,
Right. I mean,
How are they charged? I don't follow it at all.
the scooters, you can make money charging the scooters. So in college towns, many times the college students will collect scooters at night and charge them in the
Yeah.
dorm room.
Oh.
And then
Yeah,
put
they're
back on
paid
the street.
for it, so you can sign up to be a charger.
Yeah.
And you pay, it's like a bunch of
Oh my-
hundreds
they're
of
not
small
paying their electric
businesses.
It is,
Yeah, it's
Paying the electric bill.
a group
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not that much energy.
it's an exciting time to be alive.
So, you know, we also, our firm, and in my office, we have our practice lead on parking and transportation technology. And he's putting in all new equipment at the airport right now in Milwaukee. And so that also overlaps into enforcement and license plate recognition. Sometimes there are concerns in communities about privacy, but that's the most efficient way to manage on-street parking. We'll also talk about wayfinding, digital wayfinding in the garages to notify how many spaces are available. Different techniques that are out there to help increase utilization, and it's back to what I said before about maximizing the use of existing resources. That's kind of the first level of analysis. You know, are there pockets of underutilized public resources that can be better used, as opposed to spending money to build your way out of a perceived challenge? You know, but the technology will be a piece too, and so we weave in the scooters as well as you know, if pricing gets in, there are aggregators that are hungry to pre-sell parking for events. And, you have to be in a proactive stance when these new technologies come to a community, meaning you have to understand how they interplay with your community and,
Well,
But you're keeping up with it.
So does anyone have any questions on the town hall format? Does it all seem to make sense? Is there any specific things that you're hoping to get out of it, or, is the plan seem?
the board, how, are you just whiteboard and people are gonna write, or maps and they're gonna tag this location? How are you gonna
have-
gather this?
they'll be, they're trying to get the dimensions 48 by 36 boards, and they'll specifically identify the topic, you know, transportation, and it'll have questions on the board to get people thinking, and there's standard 4 or 5 questions on each board, and there's room in there to put Post-it notes,
Okay.
comments. We're gonna have somebody there manning it, who's versed in that area.
So people are gonna actually write comments on a Post-it note and stick it on the board?
Correct.
Cause I've seen the whole idea of you post a sticker, a colored sticker, if you like this comment or don't like
Yeah,
it.
we've
So
done
you
that before.
actually write.
Yeah, you can write
actual
it, and so we're gonna have, and then what we do is we take those, just to get very mechanical here, and we take those those stickers, we photograph each one, we put them into a slide deck for us, and we start to organize those into categories. And then we can report that, just similar if we did a digital survey, we can report that back and say, of those who responded or posted questions or comments, here are the themes. We don't enumerate, there were 10 comments about this, 5 about that, but you can also put together something very visual like a Wordle that says, this came up often, enforcement, is a big issue, or time limits, or residential parking, and we start to shape, the voice of those who participated in the process, shape that voice.
But that doesn't happen in the meeting, that happens after the meeting,
Correct.
right, yeah.
Yeah, and we're just there to kind of get that. I mean, in the 2 hours.
You're just collecting, the meeting is just to collect this information,
Yeah.
get people to talk, and then they understand there's no decisions being made
Sure.
or anything at this meeting, it's just collection of information.
Correct.
Yeah.
And a design charrette would be different in that we would have visual preference, we'd have stations trying to get people to, we would be teasing out what are you looking for, and we'd have people focused on taking the input that they're providing and translating that into recommendations live, working through that with the community. That's more of a design charrette.
Yeah.
And we talked that we're going to do focus group meetings to be able to capture a large group of participants.
What room are we doing
We're
this
gonna have to
in?
do about
Village
5
Center,
seconds.
so
Oh, okay.
it'll be the library, so
Conference call.
hopefully it's big enough, but also hopefully it's packed. We want people to attend it, right, so.
Right.
Did you say you wanted this group there?
Yeah,
Every other?
absolutely. I mean, not specifically, at a table together or anything, but I feel like everyone here should participate in the process so that you understand, what we're doing and you can help.
What time is it on
participate. So there's one at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and one at 6 p.m. at night.
And that's just a duplicate meeting,
It's the same meeting.
just to accommodate different schedules.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And the focus group meetings, this is something that the committee can talk about here too. Focus group meetings, we have done them in the past where they really want the focus group to feel liberated to speak freely, and so they keep the group. I want to use the word sanitized to a certain extent. Like in some communities, the mayor desperately wants to hear what's going on, but pulls out of it because he knows or she knows if they're present, that may cause some people to hold back information. And we really want to get honest, raw, input. We at this point in time still have room to adjust those focus, the layout of the focus group meetings. But at this point in time, Bart, we had a group that would be in the core discussion, but then it's open really for others to sit in and listen to.
Yeah, so just to skip ahead, I guess, that's actually next, so we can go to it, right? So in the project management plan, there was an expectation of, looks like 5 focus groups, one focus on businesses, one on multifamily residential, one for single-family residential, one for transportation, and it's at 6, and then one for elected officials and village staff. So those are the general themes that they're gonna be pulling from. But if you know of people, or if you are one of those people that wants to participate in that, this is kind of the place where you volunteer yourself, or where Phil would say, I need more people in the single-family housing, you know, and he'll email it to us all, and we'll say, okay, these are the people that I think you should contact, right? So those are coming up early July, so, now's the time to think about those people in that category, and I don't know if you wanna spearhead whether or not you need people in certain, I don't know how far you are in finding people for these, but I'm guessing you still do need people, right? So.
Yeah, and let me just tap on the brakes right there. But we don't know who all the players are, who all the, you know, those who are concerned are in the community. So we're gonna lean into you guys on populating these focus groups. So we have these topics. You may say, you know, multi-unit residential housing. I know, you know, all the other landlords, and we're gonna put together a really good mix of tenants and owners. And that'll be a great, you know, representation of that.
How many
topic.
members would you like to be in a focus group?
You know, typically we shoot for, you know, 8 to 10. Is a good number, a good manageable number. We like to diversify the group a little bit, so it isn't an echo chamber, but yeah, that usually is a good
Okay.
good sample. And you know, and the other topics that Bart mentioned, the other categories, the commercial. You know, so anybody, I mean, that's why the group was formed here. Great representation of the community. Tap into